Hey, good morning. Um, you know, sometimes, well, I think I've told you this before, sometimes I sit down and I don't know what I'm going to say. But what came to me this morning, I was at a meeting last night, and this one young fella spoke such truth. He just talked about how obsessed he was with what people thought of him, and how that was literally driving him crazy, and to a point where the only way out of it was to drink, and so it was interesting. He when he shared, I don't think he really knew how close to the truth he was around the demon for all of us, whether we're in recovery or not, or whether we have an addiction or not. It seems like we live in a world where often, in community, wherever we happen to be, there is this concern about how do people see us, and what do people think of us, and so we live with this. We make decisions, about a house that we buy, a car that we buy, clothes that we own, how we dress, who we marry, who we don't marry. All the decisions in our life we often make based on what will people think, right? And so, what kind of friggin' way is that to live? And how do we get free of that fear of being judged, or fear of not fitting in, or how do we get free of that? Well, the first step in it is to recognize that it's there. It's because it's quite subtle, and we, and it's interesting because we can't really come against it. I've had lots of friends, and I even myself have said, I don't give a shit what people think. But it wasn't true, right? It wasn't true. I did. And so to be aware that there is no way on that level to move that out, to not live in that. So we have to jump to another level. And what happens in the 12-step world is that we see how we kind of painted ourselves in the center of the picture, and not because we thought we were great, but because we were there. Fear had kept us there, and so just look at that one thing in your life. Maybe even make a list of the people in your life that that you want to impress, that you've spent your life making decisions to impress. Maybe your dad, that's a big one, or mom, or some gal that didn't maybe even know that you lived, right? Or some guy that you wanted to be a certain way for, or thought that they would love you if you did this or that. And kind of make a list and see how we're controlled. We can literally be controlled by others, even if they haven't done anything, even if they haven't said anything. And how do we get out of that? Well, what happens in the 12-step program is that we recognize that we were living there, wanting to be liked, judging ourselves based on what we thought other people thought. Isn't that crazy? Holy shit. I mean, that's insanity. And because we don't know that, one of the first things we kind of learn when we come to the 12-step world is that people aren't actually thinking about us. That they're not really thinking of us. They're and anyway, we kind of get that, but not at the deep level. We get those things, and we also sit in meetings and we hear that people are often the same as we are. They have the same fears and they have the same concerns, and it normalizes our craziness. We're like, holy shit, everybody's feeling the same way. And we see that other people are often judging themselves as inferior or superior, and putting myself above somebody or below somebody is a judgment based on what I think that who I think they are, who I think I am in relationship. It's a mess. It really is. It's no way to live, and so we have to find a way out of that mess, right? And it isn't, just saying, fuck it, I don't care, because that doesn't work either, and because we do care. So how do we get out of it? Well, we have to find a higher power. That's the crux of the deal. We find a higher power, or a God as we understand Him, and the beauty of what happens in the 12 steps is we can be rocketed literally into the fourth dimension. So sometimes, and I don't want to bash therapy in any way, but therapy can kind of reframe things so that we can have a mediocre, we can kind of just get through life, without too much distress or too much pain, and we can reframe, and we can look at ourselves or have somebody point out who we are, and we can do affirmations, and telling ourselves that we're okay, and we can kind of build a bit of padding around ourselves so we're not deep in that hole of despair, but this God business can take us to a whole other level where fear disappears. We recognize that we're, everything in the 12-step world points towards service. So we start to have, we literally change. We change how we see ourselves. We recognize that, wow, we have value. I have a friend who's just coming back and has had struggled for 8 or 10 years, and his journey has value, huge value. He paid paying a big price to get to recovery in human suffering, and his human suffering actually has value. It's like, because he can then be there for others, and that value lifts us up. We're like, oh, I guess literally from a different point of view, not based on what we own or who we know or what we've done. In a sense, just we were like, wow, I have something to give, to others who are going through similar situation, and we were able to be there with compassion and love. And compassion and love is these are attributes of a spiritual life and a connection with God, and this higher power that surrounds us. It isn't separate from us. We don't have to petition some God on a panel. We're, or some fella on high. That's a concept usually that we got in kindergarten or Sunday school, right? So we recognize that God. Bill Wilson said God either is or he isn't. Either he's everything or he's nothing. So we're living in it. This is consciousness. Consciousness is this higher power, and we move up into the realms of love and compassion and acceptance, and in those levels we're not worried about what people think. We're actually seeing, our thought is, how can I serve? How can I help? Because so many are stuck in that mire of not good enough and fear, and so we get out of that, and we begin to see that we're able to help others. Okay, I could go on all day. It's the 29th of October, and I'm going to read. I finally went out and got some readers, you guys. These are they're just drugstore. They're 125s. They're not that strong, but they help when it comes to reading. I think that there was I've been saying for weeks, I've got to get some readers, and finally, anyway, here I am. I'm pretty grateful that these work so well. So I read every day from this little book, the 24-hour day book, and we've been reading it since the 1st of May, and it's like the whole idea is that this man who wrote this book, and it was a man, I forget his name, in 1954, some of his writing is really spot on. You know, it's not in, some of it's quite dualistic, right and wrong, good and bad, but some of it's boom, right there. Um, so I find it uplifting. October 29th, thought for the day. My relationship with my children, uh, my relationships with my children have greatly improved. That's so true. Mine as well. Uh, those children who saw me, those children who saw me drunk and were ashamed, those children who turned away in fear and even loathing, have seen me sober and liked me, have turned to me in confidence and trust, and have forgotten the past as best they could. Beautiful. They have given me a chance for companionship that I had completely missed. I am their father now, not just that man that mother married, and God knows why. I am part I am part of my home and a stranger in the house no more. Have I found something that I had lost? That goes for all of us. That's a beautiful. Families are reunited. That's what happens as we move up into higher levels of consciousness. There was a gal last night at the meeting who spoke about her renewed relationship with her father. And how beautiful it was to be in touch with him on a regular basis, and it's just what happens as we get well. We're no longer judging others, because the book shows us how we can see that no matter what they're doing in their life, that they may not be well, they may be living in fear, they may be living in anger in the lower realms, and we just be with them where they are. Just a short story. I remember when I first got sober years ago, I was in my 20s, and I was like so excited that I was going to take this to my dad. Wow, my dad is going to, I'm going to sober up my father. No, no, and several years went by when I was on a mission, and then I realized that I was missing this time to be with my dad because I wanted him to be different. And I recognized that if I could, just accept him as he was, we could have a relationship, and that's what happened. He continued to be who he was, but our relationship grew, and love grew, and just there was nothing left unsaid when he passed. We were clear, and that's a beautiful thing. That's a gift of this program. So. Yeah, if you have family and you're, estranged and you're in recovery, recognize that if you keep doing the work, things will improve. No matter what has happened in the past, it will get better. So that's my experience over the years. And this guy's talking about his relationship as a father, but it goes all the way around. Ex-partners, all kinds of things improve. Meditation of the day. Our true measure of success in life is the measure of spiritual progress that we have revealed in our lives. Our true measure of success in life is the measure of spiritual progress that we have revealed in our lives. Others should be able to see the demonstration of God's will in our lives. Well, I see he's saying that, but I just want to tell you it doesn't matter if they do or not. Because we're not living to impress anybody anymore. We're living to have this relationship and to grow in usefulness to God and our fellows, but not impress. So it doesn't. Others should be able to see a demonstration of God's will in our lives. The measure of His will that those around us have seen worked out in our daily living is the measure of our true success. We can do our best to be a demonstration each day of the power of God in human lives. An example of the working out of the grace of God in the hearts of men. So, that is true. People do see us. It's just not to be attached on how they see us, And yes, we can be an example, and it's just not our business how they, how that plays out or what the results are for them. We see many, many examples of it as people move into this God consciousness. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may so live that others will see in me something that is working out of the will of God. I pray that I may so live that others will see in me something of the working out of the will of God. Okay. I pray that my life may be a demonstration of what the grace of God can do. Beautiful. It is in the living that makes a difference. And, we often, I remember one of the first things that I heard when I first came in years and years and years ago, that I may be the only big book that people see, because it's no secret about my recovery or my my working in the 12-step world. So we are that, I was talking with a lady yesterday who wants to recover. She's very new. Like yesterday might have been day one. And but part of her desire to recover is to lead her kids in that way as well. So she recognizes that we can't force anybody to do anything, but we can lead them. We can be an example for them. So that's it. It's my little reading for the day, and my chat for the day, and just recognize that be who you are. Every day, do your practices, the connection in the morning, your prayer and meditation, the readings like we just did, and you will grow in your consciousness. You'll grow in your experience of this higher power, of this. We call it God because we need a concept, and to call it. Hi, Emily, Dylan, Christine. Hello, Christine, Emily, Christine, Dylan. My daughter is here, so that's beautiful. We were just talking about family and what happens with family. So, love you, love you all. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk soon. Bye.